Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, February 8th, in the year of our Lord 2021. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Hope everybody is staying warm with our winter weather, and maybe had a good Super Bowl Sunday. I probably watched the least amount of the Super Bowl I ever have in my entire 54 years of life, for whatever reason. It wasn't very attractive or engrossing for me. So I watched a little bit, but as the score got a little bit more and more um, out of reach, there didn't seem to be much reason to watch. So, um, but today, I guess I just start with a reminder for our weekly schedule, which is the same one we've been following the past few weeks, or for quite a while since we've been back to public worship. Tomorrow evening, we do have confessions starting at 5:30, going to 6:15, Mass at 6:30, and then the Rosary following Mass here at St. John's. Then on Wednesday, we'll have Mass at 8 a.m., or confessions at 7 a.m., ending at 7:45 a.m., and then Mass following at 8 a.m., and at the end of Mass, we begin exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. That continues throughout the day, so please stop in if you'd like to spend some time with our Lord. It's in the main body of the church, so there's plenty of room to distance. And also, too, then at 6:30, we'll start live streaming the conclusion of our adoration with praying the Rosary, and then benediction, and that then runs from 6:30 to 7 p.m. And then on Thursday and Friday, we have Mass at 8 a.m. So that's our weekly schedule. Two kind of wonderful saints today, St. Jerome Emiliani and St. Josephine Bakhita. I'm going to talk about St. Jerome Emiliani. That's the one I celebrated Mass for. I would encourage you to probably look up some information on St. Josephine Bakhita. She was first as a slave, sold as a slave, ended up joining a religious congregation in Italy. Fantastic story. But St. Jerome Emiliani has a great story too. He was born in Venice in 1481. He was a soldier in the Venetian army at that time. Venice was kind of its own city-state, and he ends up being put in charge of a fortress that is overrun, and he's put in prison, and that's where he has his conversion. He hadn't had much time for anything dealing with faith up until that point, but being thrown into a dungeon brought him around, as I guess we could imagine it would. And so he seeks the intercession of our Blessed Mother, and he does make a miraculous escape. And so he returns to Venice eventually and starts to help educate his nephews as he studies for the priesthood. And he is ordained in 1518, and that's a time when there's a lot of famine and plague. And so he devoted himself to relieving relieving distress and suffering wherever he could, concentrating particularly on abandoned orphans. So we'll see that throughout his life. That's an important part of his ministry. He rented a house for them to live in, provided clothing and food for them out of his own resources, and instructed them in the doctrine and practice of the faith. He did this by means of a catechism in question and answer form. A few weeks ago I used that example in my homily about the Baltimore Catechism, who made you, God made me. It was question and answer form. So he's the one who starts that, and it is a very popular way of teaching the faith for centuries, as we see. In 1531, he set out to found houses devoted totally to the care of unfortunates of various sorts. He founded orphanages in Brescia, Bergamo, and Como, as well as a home for repentant prostitutes and a hospital in Verona. With two other priests, he formed a new congregation with a house in the village of Samasca, between Bergamo and Milan, in which postulants to the congregation could make spiritual exercises. The congregation took its name from the village, becoming known as the Clerks Regular of Samasca. And so they looked after the spiritual and material welfare of the peasants living around the village, but their main work was the care of orphans. And so that's this. St. Jerome Emiliani is known, yes, most readily for his care of orphans. In February, or he caught an infectious disease from tending the sick and died on the February 8th in 1537. St. Charles Borromeo gave his new congregation support after Jerome's death. It was recognized by Pope Paul III in 1540, but it still continues to run schools and orphanages in Italy even to this day. Jerome was canonized on October 12th, 1767, and in 1928, at the request of the Superior General of the Congregation, on the occasion of the 4th centenary of their foundation, Pope Pius XI declared him patron saint of orphans and abandoned children. And so we celebrate his feast day on the day that he died. So St. Jerome Emiliani and his great love for orphans and abandoned children, we'll ask him to intercede for us, and especially to intercede for for those children who have been abandoned or are orphans. And we'll continue to look out for each other and pray for each other. And I pray that through the intercession of St. Jerome Emiliani, God may bless you abundantly this